Now we're here today, Wednesday, August the 15th, for our Staffbase expert webinar series. And we are so glad to be working with our friends from ContactMonkey today. We were lucky to meet the folks from ContactMonkey at the 2018 IABC World Conference, and to follow up with them on all of the great things that they do with their email plugin, and kind of filled them in on all of the things that we do at Staffbase with our employee app. And we came together because we think it's important to chat multi-channel hacks and solutions for creating engaging internal communication. So worked with them to come up with 10 ideas for all of you internal communicators that are here today. And I am Carla Kath. I am the marketing director for North America for Staffbase, also a former internal communicator. And I am happy to be with you again for another webinar Wednesday.
And
Filza, I'll throw it to you now.
Yeah. So I'm Filza from ContactMonkey. I'm the content marketing specialist for ContactMonkey, and I love telling stories and creating engaging experiences. I started off as a journalist covering news stories and creating engaging narratives for the community, and joined ContactMonkey for the same reason. I wanted to bring great narratives and great ways to communicate for internal communications people.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think, Filza, you will kick it off with number one here.
So let's start with our hack number one, internal influencers, how to identify them to drive employee engagement. So you must be wondering, who are these internal influencers? And while it's tempting to think of internal influencers as those with official power and important job titles, they're actually those people who have rather agnostic job titles and know exactly what your average employees are experiencing, because they are one of those average employees. And it's really important to recognize who these internal influencers are in order to leverage your internal communication strategy. You really need to know who these key figures are, because the 5 most influential people in the organization can reach more than double the amount of employees than an executive team can. So by tapping into the power of these influencers, managers can use them to communicate necessary changes or make them architects of an initiative. So sometimes, you may be introducing a new initiative or a policy change. So getting that buy-in from these influencers and using them to push those changes can really help your overall internal communication strategy. And I'll talk about this case study from Macy's and how they used internal influencers to really up their internal comms game. So this retail giant looked internally within its store to find influencers. They initiated a brand ambassador program, exclusively recruiting internal employees into this program. And what they did was they started this group called the Style Crew, and all these employees of Macy's would actually dress up in Macy's clothing and use Macy's products, and advertise themselves using these products on social media. And this actually really got some good feedback and really helped bolster their employee engagement. Not only did this generate engagement for the company amongst customers and amongst employees, but it also proved to be a very effective tactic when it came to really upping their sales game. So one Style Crew member actually sold $15,000 worth of handbags in just 1 week. So really leveraging internal employees and using them to act as ambassadors for your company can not only help your company's overall growth, but can also help your company to really tap into employee engagement and push it. So here are some steps to identify and leverage internal influencers. Ask questions. So send out surveys to everyone and try to ask questions from each employee, such as, who do you talk to every day? Who would you go to for, advice regarding any workplace difficulties? You'll see that certain answers might keep cropping up, which will give you an idea of, if certain names keep popping up, you'll know, okay, these are some people that keep coming up. So these could be some of the internal influencers that we need to be talking to and leveraging their influence. Make sure to meet them in person because human connections are critical, and feature influencers in your communications because who doesn't love to be featured, you know? Everyone loves, you know, being featured in newsletters. Everyone wants to tell their story. If you're telling, you know, the stories of your employees, they're more likely to engage with your company and really work hard for you. So that brings us to our hack number 2, which is video. And I think Carla is just having a couple of technical difficulties, so she should pop back in just a moment to talk about video. Carla, you're back. You can take it from here on video. So while Carla takes a moment to pop back, I'll actually talk about our hack number 3, which is personalization and segmentation. So say goodbye to generic messages. So you may be wondering, why should we be personalizing? In a time where you can customize everything from your coffee cups, so if you're having Starbucks, you can customize your coffee to your running shoes, we expect brand touch points in our lives to be relevant as well. And this obviously applies to your biggest brand advocates, so it applies to your employees. You should also be thinking of segmentation because by segmenting lists, for example, different lists according to different countries, because you're likely dealing with employees from all over the world. So you need to really make sure that you're catering to in each country's regional habits and cultural traits. So you need to be really segmenting these lists to boost engagement. Segmentation lists can also help you identify internal influencers, since with the right metrics, you'll be able to pinpoint them from their email open activity. So Carla, I just went to hack number 3 because we were having some tech issues. Just talking about segmentation. This is a case study from Avocados Mexico. So this organization imports avocados to the US, and they used segmentation really well to up their communications game. So they wanted to increase brand awareness, so they decided to separate their audiences into avo-aware and avo-unaware groups. So they decided, okay, so we have some people who love avocados and are aware of their benefits, but we also have those people who want to know more about avocados but don't know what the health benefits are or why they should be eating avocados. So they decided to make separate content for each of these segmented groups. And by doing so, they witnessed an 8% drop in bounce rate and a 23% increase in site traffic. So you can see something like this can be very useful in creating an engaged audience. And you know, ContactMonkey is a plugin that actually helps you create personalized lists and because it allows you to send to distribution lists. So you can use mass distribution lists and send emails to these lists and personalize the message that you're sending to each employee. You can easily drag the names of specific people into the subject line to personalize the subject line. So instead of saying, hi, you know, this is our new company update, the email could say, hey, John, this is what we have for you today. So really personalizing and tapping into that power can really help you engage employees. So just to sum up, make sure when you're segmenting and personalizing, you're using distribution lists for emails, you're using push notifications. If you're using an app and using push notifications, personalize those. Ensure you are personalizing the subject line in the email, and make sure to also personalize the body of the message. Okay, Carla, you can take it from here.
Awesome. So we skipped over number 2, Filza, because of our technical difficulties here. So I'm going to go back up a little bit and go back to hack number 2 because I feel like it's one of my favorites. And also we are on video and we're now working. So, so hack number 2, video. A recent study said that by 2020, 80% of consumer traffic is going to be due to video content. And I think that that's a huge number. Search engines love video. Video is media rich. Consumers, customers love video, but employees love video too. And so if you think about employees like customers of how we do at Staffbase, then you kind of realize that positive reaction to this platform. A case study from Smith, they are a global customer of ours, and they have really taken video to the next level using their employee app. Like many of our customers, they had a ton of videos for various purposes, whether it was for leadership messaging or for training, but they decided to put it all in one place and create
I think Carla just went off for a couple of minutes.
Okay, there we are. But after Smith launched this video hub, they were able to look at the engagement numbers, and there was a great increase in the number of employees that were accessing the video content after that. So why is video the comms tool of the future? Video can condense information and communicate it more efficiently. It can help with those nonverbal cues as well, because you can see everything, you can hear everything, and it really just gives you, again, this really rich medium. Visuals have a higher success rate for communication. And I think they can really help with brand awareness and with employee engagement. So that is number 2 for us. And then we'll skip down to number 4. And Filza, you mentioned this one when you were talking about personalization. So hack number 4 is push notifications. Push notifications, another really, really great stat here. They can increase the response rate by 293%. That's just off the charts. And I think that push notifications, we all have them on our phones with various platforms and apps. I think when they're useful and when they're not. It can be a love-hate relationship, but they are essential. And I think when you use them in the workplace, they can be critical for all that you do. If you are able to analyze the push notifications and the engagement that you've created by using that hack, you'll be able to see that that channel is really helpful in your communications. I'll go back. And then again, with the love-hate, you can you can have an opt-in and opt-out feature as well to allow employees to choose whether or not they want to receive your push notifications. Push notifications, they're read 70% of the time within the first hour. When I was an internal communicator, saw this firsthand and was able to measure the engagement and adapt content accordingly to the response timing. So that was really great for shift workers. Best practices for push notifications so that your employees don't opt out. You really want to make sure that you're creating value for your employees with relevant information to your targeted audience. You can also segment those push notifications so that you make sure that the group that's receiving them is the right group. Make sure that those push notifications align with your company culture and brand. Don't want to push out everything that you see here and eat for lunch. And again, measure, and adapt your content accordingly, even when it comes to push notifications. Some use cases for push notifications, if you're not using them already. There they are right here. You can see them on the slide. But one of our customers, he always tells us that he loves push notifications. His employees love push notifications, but he only uses them for 2 things, for employee contests and rewards and for safety alerts. And it has been very helpful in his organization. And so, Filza, I will throw it over to you for hack number 5.
Yeah, so is email really dead or is it still alive and well? So this is a question that's been circulating a lot around internal communications circles, especially with the onslaught of new communications tools and instant messaging apps such as Slack. So here I'm going to outline some reasons why you should still consider email as a key part of your overall internal communication strategy. It's because it's a platform that allows your audience to tune in versus being forced in. So for example, if you're using an instant messaging app and you're getting a message on it, you have this there's this necessity of being able to reply almost immediately because it's an instant messaging app after all. With email, on the other hand, you can really think about the kind of communications you want to send and send thoughtful messages and be able to really strategize effectively. Email is also more formal. So if you're receiving an email, you're likely to take it a little bit more seriously than if you were getting a message on Slack. So email is definitely here to stay. Email also ensures privacy and is appropriate for a multi-generational workforce. So with apps like Slack, there's always this, question in the backdrop whether, it's going to ensure your privacy and whether, data that you exchange on Slack, it can be subpoenaed by authorities as well. Whereas with email, the chances of that are much lower, according to an article by Fast Company. Email also allows you to track your internal communication. So if you're using a plugin like ContactMonkey, you can really see who opened your email, which device they viewed your email on, which links they clicked on, and you can really use that data to optimize for the future. And then email is really good for a multi-generational workforce. So we're not just dealing with millennials in the workplace, we also have traditionalists, we have the baby boomers. A lot of these people are really comfortable using email and they might not be very receptive to new instant messaging apps and other kinds of new technologies. So email is a really good medium that you need to have. Also, a study found that 68% of teens and 73% of millennials actually prefer to use email for all kinds of business communication. So something to keep in mind, even millennials love email. We did a Twitter chat recently where we did this in conjunction with the IABC, and we asked a lot of internal comms people this question: is email dead? And these were some of the responses that we received. So as you can see, the majority of these people think that email is a tool that they need to really tap into for their internal comms. Barbara here says, they've been saying email is dead since I started working in digital comms, but email has been a huge part of the strategy of every organization I've worked at. Don't mess with a classic, she says, and I'm definitely going to agree with that one. So here are some email hacks, some key takeaways. So if you're sending emails, what are some of the things that you need to really look into? So the first impression really matters. So make sure your subject line is something that you really think about. What is going to make your employees actually click on that subject line and open and read your email? So really think about that before sending any communications out. Use the inverted pyramid formula, so make sure you're always putting the most important information at the top and the least important at the bottom. Make the content relatable, so make sure you're using lighthearted humor in all your email communications because you're talking to humans, not robots. Track, measure, and improve. So use tools such as ContactMonkey to constantly track your emails and see, who's opening them, what's working, and what's not. So this takes us to our next hack, mobile access. Carla.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're talking multi-channel, and I think that email would be great to be on your mobile device also, especially for millennials. If you look at this stat here, by 2025, 75% of the workforce will be millennials, and 98% of them have their phones in their pockets, in their purses, right in front of them at their desk at all times, or at non-desk as well access. So I think mobile is at the forefront of internal communications. And if you aren't communicating on mobile devices already, you should probably consider that if you look at these numbers. The workplace is changing. Employees like myself are increasingly working more remotely, working from home and traveling more often. Mobile allows every employee to be in the loop no matter where they are. It also just allows for quick collaboration between teams and allows people and individuals and workers to connect when they want and wherever they want. A customer success story, German Telecom, they created their service dialogue app, and they're connecting with 7,000 field workers who are on the road every single day. They were able to onboard 96% of their employees to the app, but the more exciting thing is that 55% of them are using the app every single day. That shows that the employees were in need of a platform that was mobile. It also shows that the content that they're sharing is very engaging. So it's a twofer there. But they have this just blows my mind, but they had more than 22,000 comments within their app in the first month. And again, that's 7,000 workers. And so that's only possible. They were only able to reach them because they had a mobile approach. These workers were not at their desk by any means. So I think that mobile is definitely the way that I communicate. When I was an internal communicator, it was a great way to reach a younger generational workforce. Right, hack number 7.
So on to storytelling, quick tips to implement into your IC strategy. So why tell stories? Well, it's the primary mode of communication. Humans have always communicated and come to understand the world through stories. Also, many cultural theorists have found that effective corporate storytelling can really help enhance your company culture and help boost employee engagement in the long run. As the roles of internal communicators become more robust and creative, storytelling has also reemerged as a really great way to engage your employees. So how should you be leveraging the power of stories? Make sure to include employees in your stories. Make employees the engaged storytellers. Feature them in your newsletters. That's just one thing you can do to really, really boost employee engagement. Everyone has a story to tell by featuring them in your newsletter, in your overall, if you have a company magazine, if you feature the employee highlights and certain employees in the magazine, it can really help boost overall employee engagement. Also use the power of gamification and interactive team events to really build your company culture and your company's story. So one thing you could do, for example, is have like something fun like Trivia Tuesdays where you gather all your employees and have a fun round of trivia asking employees questions on the company's, the company culture, the company's mission statement and stuff like that, and offer incentives and prizes to really get employees to engage at these events, which in turn will help boost, employee engagement. Utilize creative campaigns to drive employee engagement. So for example, if it's Valentine's Day, a fun thing you can do is pass around a survey asking employees to fill in some ideas and what they love about the company, what the company can do better to instill, instill the love of employees, instill company love within employees. So these are some ways that you can really, boost employee engagement. And this is a case study from Siemens that really showcased employees within all of their communications and told a story through employees about the company. Siemens wanted to solidify their company culture after the launch of their factory. So they featured employees in their graphics, and they used the visual metaphor of the wind turbines throughout their imagery to really showcase what their company is all about. So this is another example from Siemens where they featured an employee and they featured a quote from this employee who talks about why, people should use blades from Siemens, and he talks about a quality team. So having like a small quote from an employee can really help show them that you care about them and you value their opinions. Some quick tips for effective storytelling. Don't forget your why. Make sure you know why the company's mission is important, and make sure you're able to communicate that to employees. Use show and tell features, and don't be afraid to strategically mix it up. So make sure whenever you're using any kind of communications, you don't just rely on text, you mix it up with video, audio, you include GIFs, memes. So play with different things and see what works and what doesn't. Ensure you involve the human element and always ask what's in it for them. So make sure whenever you're writing any email or sending out a newsletter, you're always asking yourself, what's in it for them? What's going to really make this employee open and read my email and really engage with me? And that brings us to our next hack. Carla, you can take it from here.
Yeah. So our next hack is very important. I think we've been talking a lot about multi-channel communications and the different ways that you can communicate with your employees. Um, but I think that there is one thing that kind of crosses all platforms, and that's data and measurement. And I think that leaders love data. It is kind of your why. And it also helps to build a business case for all that you do as an internal communicator. Um, Measurement's essential to creating buy-in and to making change. And so with that in mind, wanted all of you that are participating to participate in this quick survey, if you would, to ask you, wanted to find out, do you measure the success of your internal comms on a daily basis? And I know, all of you are probably using different tools. There are several out there, and different ways of looking at those numbers too that are relevant to your work.
Yeah, I think measurement is so important because you can only make things better by making sure that you're measuring everything that you're doing so that you're able to optimize and improve
Right,
the future.
absolutely. Adapt.
Yeah.
So just looking at it right now, looking at the stats, I'm going to end the voting so you guys can see the results. So 45% of you have answered no, that you do not measure the success of your internal comms on a daily basis. So to that, I would say, why not? I wish you would, and I think that if you did measure all that you do, you would see what a large bucket that you fill for the company, and that I help. Again, I think that you would be able to present a business case to leadership for your position in the organization and for how critical it is to employee happiness and employee satisfaction and to productivity in the workplace. So data improves productivity in a number of ways. It provides feedback on content, allowing for adjustments. There's a question here in the chat. What are some ways to do that daily? Show you in a minute how we do that at Staffbase with our dashboard, but I think it's important to look at the data daily because it can change at a moment's notice. We have, instant measurement features in our employee app, surveys and polls, where you're able to see right away what your employees are feeling, or if you are able to make a change right then, that day, that could make an impact. We recently worked with a customer who told us a story. It was a healthcare organization. She implemented an employee happiness plugin of ours and used it to gauge how employees were feeling every day of the week, asking simple questions, and found out that employees needed a new coffee maker. Well, you know what? Lo and behold, by the end of the week, they had a new coffee maker. She also found out that employees needed a new picnic table. By the end of the week, they had a new picnic table. Again, those are small changes, but if they add up, they can improve productivity, engagement, and happiness and create a better working culture. Here is what our dashboard looks like in Staffbase. This is what we look at. You're able to look at it as many times as you want during the day. It has recently grown more robust with one of our product releases, but you are able to assess engagement. You are also able to see how many people are using your platform, what time of day, what device, and you're able to adapt content accordingly, like Filza said. An app has 3 times more readers than a traditional intranet. And then the response rates within that app with those surveys and those polls, like the one that you just took, are 35% higher than other channels. Another customer success story, one of our customers in Florida who works for Tradewinds Resorts does an employee satisfaction survey every year. And since they launched their app, they were able to see that the survey results went up in every single category They also had more people participate than ever before. So daily metrics, another comment, Filza, really quick. They see somebody is saying that that's far too time consuming for a small team. And I think you can, dig as quick snapshot is all that you need to make those easy adjustments. And you can do that on a daily basis. All right, number 9.
So newsletters. So how can you use newsletters to add value and engage on a global scale with your employees? So why should you be using newsletters? For starters, newsletters offer a strong internal communication line to connect your company with employees. So it's a chance for you to really show employees what your company is doing and announce company-wide events and initiatives that are happening. You can use newsletters as a way to showcase what each department is doing, so that if you have remote employees or employees scattered all over the world, you have a way of showcasing and the company culture and bringing everyone together. Employee newsletters can also feature multimedia or formal means of communicating information and can be read on any device. So as Carla has also mentioned, a majority of the people have been using mobile, and in the past few years, the amount of emails that have been viewed on mobile has increased by up to 5 times. So newsletters are also being viewed on mobile, and they are essentially, they're a feature that can be viewed anywhere. So your employees can view them from their workstation, on their desktop. They can look at them on their tablets. They can look at them on their mobile screens. So making sure that newsletters are responsive and that they're an important part of your internal communication strategy is something that you really need to look into. And here's why you should be using them, because through the insight and measurement your email channel can provide, you can monitor email performance and track how your audience responds. So if you've included like a video in one of your newsletters and that did really well, as opposed to just a simple plain text-based newsletter, you'll be able to see, okay, this is what's really resonating with my audience. This is what I need to do more of in the future in terms of all my communications. You can also analyze metrics by sending newsletters. You can see who opened the newsletter, any links that were clicked on. You can see which location they viewed the newsletter from and which device they were on when they looked at the newsletter. So if you see that people are using mobile a lot, then you need to really make sure that your newsletter is mobile responsive. Test and optimize for the future, and definitely be sure to personalize your newsletter. This is a newsletter example from the Skim that I think is really good to kind of incorporate as an example for your internal newsletter as well. The Skim essentially tells you all that's happening all over the world in a really fun and conversational way. And what I really like about them is that they use a very minimalist design. So they use a lot of text, but they still have more than a 40% open rate, which is amazing. So they're clearly doing something right. If you're not very design savvy, you can have something like this and really use slick copy to engage with your employees. Company news is not always very exciting, so using a conversational tone like the Skim does is great. They also have a section called Skim Picks, which I really love, because you can also do a section like this where you feature recommendations from like various employees. So one week Sally can be featured, and you can see, picks by Sally. So she can talk about which movies to watch, which books to read this week, and which places to eat and go out for lunch. So by featuring her, you can really help boost employee engagement as well. Your employees are going to open your emails and newsletters if they've been featured in them. This is another newsletter example from Moo that I really like. And if you're more of the design savvy person, then you need to really make sure that your design speaks for itself and that you use minimal text to really get your audience engaged. So as you see here, they've used a lot of different colors to really attract the end user. And this is a very responsive template as well. So make sure that you're testing your templates and making sure that they are responsive. With ContactMonkey, you can actually simply import HTML newsletters into Outlook super easily, and it ensures that the newsletter does not have any rendering issues and shows up smooth and everything is good on all devices. So be sure to test and make sure that your newsletter is responsive. Some newsletter tips and tricks to keep in mind: make sure you're featuring employee recommendations, make sure to highlight any major events, and make sure to give a spotlight to any team that has contributed something major to the organization. Make the content snackable, make sure you're using bullet points and you're breaking up everything by using different headlines. Test newsletters and ensure responsiveness. So this is something I really talked about a lot when it comes to newsletter. So make sure that it's something that you do so that people are really engaged. And that brings us to hack number 10. Carla.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, did I cut you off there, Filza? I think we froze for a minute.
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. So on to hack number 10, multiple contributors. I know Filza talked about internal influencers. That was hack number 1, and a very important one. I think that multiple contributors can be internal influencers, but they can also be different people. And these are the people within your organization that you identify as the people that will be helping you use all of your channels to communicate. So they will kind of become these admins or these editors of those channels to help you create targeted real-time content for multiple groups. Growth, when companies are experiencing rapid growth, it's often difficult to maintain internal communications because there's so much going on. And I think that multiple contributors can help with that because they can take a small piece of what's going on in various groups or on various sites or locations, and they can help bring all of those communications together so that makes it more relevant for the folks at that site or at that location, but also the company as a whole, so everyone knows what's going on everywhere. It also helps you, internal communicators. Sometimes you're a one-man band or a very small team, and I think having multiple contributors can help you do your work. They keep the conversation alive and keep it going. You hear about things that you can't hear about because you are just one person or a small team. A customer of ours calls their employee app a digital handshake within his organization because he has various contributors at different sites. They're able to shake hands remotely and share content across the board to all of their teams. And again, it kind of is this back and forth as well. When you identify and train multiple content contributors, they become more engaged, and then the groups that they are communicating with, they also become more engaged, and you can look at your data and you can also see that happen, and it's really exciting as well. We have a new feature called Spaces. Spaces helps companies like the one that I mentioned who calls his employee app a digital handshake, helps companies create different rooms for their different branches, their departments, and their locations. So like this illustration here, you have a very large bakery headquarters. There you would have company news, CEO leadership messages, kind of this big corporate calendar, maybe large corporate events, a corporate directory, but then you have these other smaller spaces, these other bakeries, one in Atlanta, one here in Dallas, one in LA, and they're doing their own things. They have different calendars, they have different menus, they have different content that they need to share. And Spaces allows for multiple contributors in each of those spaces, and it helps bring the company together and just makes it more cohesive with communication. And the information is also very targeted for each of those locations. So super exciting to have multiple contributors. I know as an internal communicator, handing off, some of that duty can be a little bit scary. I think it can also be very, very exciting, and it's a great way to grow. We have covered a lot today, and I know we have to keep moving forward, Filza, because we may have some questions here with our group. So here's a quick review of the 10 hacks that we talked about. We'll be sharing the slides and the recording as well following this event, but wanted to put them here in case you wanted a reference point and in case any of you had any other questions. Give them a few minutes. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we haven't addressed. Any other questions?
So we have a question from Katie. What if none of my emails are performing well? So yeah, that's the thing. You need to constantly use different things within your emails. So try different subject lines, try different headlines, try to incorporate different mediums such as video in one email. You could do like a podcast in another email. You could just use plain text. You could use animated images and see what's working. So once you hone in, once you do a lot of testing and see what's performing well and what's not performing well, you'll be able to see, okay, this is what I need to stay away from, and this is what I need to really look into and use more of in order to make my emails more engaging.
Awesome.
So
See, someone has a
Kathleen,
question.
yeah.
Yeah. She wants to know about how ContactMonkey fits into the Staffbase app. Not yet, Kathleen. No,
Yeah,
but we are, two different approaches to internal communications, and like we talked about, I think it's important that you use all of them to engage your audience, and that you see which one or which group of them works best for you and your organization.
definitely. And yeah, definitely use a multi-channel approach. So make sure you're using all kinds of different communications platforms and tools to really ensure that you're engaging with your audience.
Absolutely.
So I
And
think
then
that is.
another question. Yeah, there are a couple there, Filza. There's one about storytelling.
So how do you keep things fresh when it comes to storytelling? So yeah, that's going to be a lot of testing as well. I think one thing to keep in mind is to make sure that you're communicating in a lighthearted way, even if you're working for a really formal organization like a hospital. Sometimes people are really scared to use humor, and that's something that you shouldn't be afraid of. Just internal comms, it's one department that can really keep things fresh by really incorporating slick copy, funny memes, GIFs, and really try talking in a way, like in a conversational way, that just the way that you're talking to a friend. I think that really helps create a lot of engagement and tell great stories. And feature different employees and different initiatives all the time so that you're keeping your storytelling fresh.
Absolutely. Another question there was about managing multiple contributors and making sure that the messages that they're sharing are on brand. Um, we absolutely would recommend editorial or content guidelines for any organization. I think that that helps as a reference point for multiple contributors. Also, multiple contributors, I think that training is important and regular check-ins with those people so that you can work together to stay on message and know when to share and what to share and kind of optimize accordingly. And again, you can reference the data there so that you're able to share that with your contributors and they're able to make valuable contributions for you and your team when it comes to content.
And I think we have another question from Adam. He's
Yeah.
saying that they receive a lot of data from different realms in our internal comms platforms. How do you think, I guess he's asking, how do you create meaningful data assumptions or conclusions? Um, so this is where you just need to really, as Carla mentioned, keep tracking your internal comms from the very start. Make sure you're tracking every single day to make sure that you're able to see certain trends that are going to emerge over time, so that you're able to make logical conclusions and logical assumptions rather than jumping to conclusions. Carla, would you have anything to add to that? So I would say, like, if you're using an app like Staffbase or a tool like ContactMonkey, you will have, constant access to dashboards that are giving you insights and data in real time and are giving you data for every single day. And keeping track of that every single day, and then a weekly track and a monthly track will really help you keep things logical without jumping to conclusions and assumptions.
So you should also look at the channels and track those and make sure that the channels that you are choosing to use, if you're using various internal comms platforms, are the ones that you should be using, are the ones that your employees are using. Otherwise, it's just one more channel for you to manage. And definitely don't want to do that. Your time is too important. For all of us today. Again, Filza, it has been so nice to work with you and your team at ContactMonkey and to come together to share with this audience of internal communicators. I think it's an exciting group to be a part of and to serve, and we hope that we can hear from all of you and grow our channels accordingly. You can sign up for a demo with us at staffbase.com/demo, and we'll share the 11th hack with you to reach your mobile workforce. And the 11th hack is an employee app. And I think you have an off as well, Filza.
Yes, so make sure that you sign up for a demo mentioning the webinar for a 15% discount for our internal email tracking solution. So you'll get a chance to really test and see and play around with ContactMonkey and see what a useful plugin it is. And it actually, makes you more productive and saves you a lot of time because, as Carla said, we definitely don't want to infringe on your time. We want to enable you to have more time and be more productive.
Absolutely. And if you want to join us again next Wednesday, the 22nd, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be talking about those internal influencers that Filza mentioned with our Senior Employee Engagement Specialist, Laura Jameson from Instinctive Partners. She's going to give us 3 ways to unleash those internal influencers. So she's going to tell us how to identify those people and how to empower them to share your internal comms messages. So please join us again if you can, and we will be sharing the recording as well and the slides from that one if you cannot. But thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you again, Filza.
Thank you, Carla, for having us on this webinar, and thank you everyone for asking all those questions and being so engaged.